Education, school system, board of education. Board of education is responsible for the education of our children, but they seem to be responsible for lining their own pockets. Their main concern is getting a raise. We need more money. But when it comes to the children and the teachers' complaints about they need more money, more resources, these people choose to give themselves raises over over our kids' education. No, the money for education is for our kids' education. They're not for hiring you. You can be replaced by a computer. Kids can go to school online. Actually, the whole school can be replaced. And I'll give grounds for it before the end of this note. But at the first of the note, let's talk about the people. See, every time something's wrong, it's not a machine. It's user error. It's not a defective fuse in an institution or an organization. So we have to look to the people for why the school system is failing. Old books, substandard books, cheaper books, and the cheaper books don't have quality information. People do work hard on literature. They want to get compensated for it. The best literature wants the most money. The school wants to buy the cheapest books, the ones with the lies in it, rehashed from 20, 30 years ago with no new information in it. All they did was change the cover and talk about revised. But if you open the cover, you won't see any revisions. Okay? Now, the money is going to the pockets. You hear those background noises? We're going to show you where they come from and why they're there. When there's no recording coming on and no visual recording, you don't hear a sound. It's the quietest neighborhood in the world. The minute I push one of these buttons, vampires start trying to make a noise in the background so they can say, hey, that's my car, that's my dog, that's me. They're going to pay a penalty for that. No one in the school system seems to give a damn about the kids. They're a bunch of borderline juvenile delinquents. So, the report about cheaply sewn baseball gloves, crooked baseball bats. When you buy cheap goods, you get generic goods. Here's what happened. It throws off your balance, your equilibrium, your eyesight, your everything. To have uniforms with a crooked seam deforms your team. It handicaps them, makes them twisted and deformed. The same way with a crooked bat. It's going to make you think you're not the hitter you are. A poorly sewn baseball glove will end your career. A slightly crooked basketball will make it look like your team sucks when they don't. And it's not team related or player related. Same way with a crooked volleyball or a crooked volleyball net. Cheap line paper is not leveled. It is slightly off. And it messes with a child's equilibrium. So they're buying cheap, substandard materials, and it's handicapping your kid mentally and physically. See, a lie is the root of insanity. To be sane is to be have a grip on reality, be in touch with reality. To be insane is to be out of touch with reality. A lie is the opposite of reality. It is insane. To believe lies or to be educated to believe lies makes you insane. So when they're teaching people things that are not facts, they're causing mental illnesses. They're causing kids and telling them they have ADD and a learning disability. No, they don't. What they have is subliminal, subconscious problems seated since the kindergarten. What is that? Conflicting thoughts. Okay, two thoughts that are opposite, that both can't be true, are placed in your head as truth. This makes you crazier and crazier and crazier until your conscious crazy. Crazy comes from a level of subconscious and builds and builds and builds until there's a break on the conscious level. That's why everyone has crazy spots and they know it, but they don't consider themselves crazy because it hasn't melted up and cracked their conscious mind where they no longer can distinguish reality anymore. But on a subconscious level, they no longer can distinguish reality anymore. Now, second of all, like was mentioned in the other note, if you care about the health and safety of your child, and you do, unless you're totally insane, public public school is the worst place you can send them. Let me refer, let me elaborate on that. Public is the worst threat to you, other people. They carry germs and diseases. All right, that's how they're transmitted from other people. Even crazy thoughts are transmitted from other people, conversation with other people. You take your child, you try hardest to make them of sound mind, to make them a smart person. You want your kid to be smart. You want them to be good, physical, all that. And you do pretty good up to 5 years old. As well as can be expected. It can be done better. That'll be elaborated on later. Then the law. They pass a law that makes you send your child into jeopardy. Okay, into a public box with 30 other kids who have colds, germs, bumps, warts, lice. They've brought mold from their house, bed bugs from their house, and you stick your child in there with a bunch of kids. Half of them, no one tried to teach them anything. And they pass on bad words and bad thoughts and bruises to your child, and lice and bed bugs, and on and on and on. There, you cannot pass a law that makes me send my child into harm's way. So the public school law has to be abolished. Home education, online education, private school, all these have to raise up to the top. Public education cannot be our number one source of education. It is inferior. It has become hazardous. It is detrimental. It is not a plus anymore. Okay? It's like a public pool. It's infested with germs. They're not spraying the doorknob that your child touches for germs between periods. They're not disinfecting the desk that some sick kids sit at before your child came there and sit in that chair. Excuse me, I have to talk loud because I don't need the crap in the background. Now you may think, oh, my kids need school. They need a teacher. They don't need a computer. Let me tell you about this teacher. true education, true information that they're supposed to be teaching them instead of that rehashed old uh, revised version is growing and being discovered so fast that the teacher is playing catch up themselves. They're reading the book themselves. That's why they put out daily lessons and weekly lessons because they haven't read the whole book themselves. They want to keep your child behind them so they seem more intelligent than your child. But quiet as it's kept, you can make your child read that whole book and they'll be smarter than the teacher. They'll know more than the teacher because the teacher hasn't read the whole book yet. The book just came out. The teacher is teaching your kid what they've learned so far, trying to keep up themselves. They're even taking night classes. So the teacher is uneducated to the materials they're supposed to be teaching. The physical ed teacher is on the completely wrong track. Their program for physical fitness is a joke. It actually tears up the human body and handicaps you. So why your team's not winning and your kid doesn't seem to be getting in shape and has PE every day and still looks like a couch potato. Okay? The science class. Science is changes every day, but your kid's science book doesn't and his lab projects doesn't. If you don't care about your child, send them to the present day school, public school system. I guarantee you, your child's going to be screwed up. And you're going to be wondering why my child has mental problems. Why is my child in a special learning class? How did we get these bed bugs in our house? Where did they come from? The school. Where did we get lice from? The school. Okay? How come everyone's in the house is sick? The school. You know what you get from school you don't get from online teaching or private school or tutoring? You know what you get? You don't get a bunch of people trying to scam you for money, calling themselves a non-profit organization, but every time you turn around, they're trying to make money for a profit. What do I mean? They already have the equipment, but they charge your kid every year to play a sport. They're not buying new equipment. Where's the money going? The candy sales. They buy that candy for a dime, and your kid comes and sells it to you for $2. That's making a profit. They are a profit-making organization. So are the churches. And I haven't found one non-profit organization yet. This is a fraud and a farce, and it's adding to inflation. It's adding to recession. So-called non-profit organizations who don't have to put back in, but they're steady taking out big chunks. They don't have to pay any taxes or put anything back. Just take out. They're not non-profit. Everything they do is for profit. Everything they do is to gain money. In other words, you got two choices. Either the school passes everything on for what it costs them, or they loses their non-profit status. Non-profit organizations, it is mandatory that they operate at cost. They're not allowed to make anything extra. That's called making a profit. You don't get bullies, okay, with the other stuff. You don't get people putting stuff in your head you didn't put in there. Other kids with no manners passing their ill-mannered ways onto your kid. Other kids with their foul language passing their foul words onto your kid. Their germs, their behavior, all of that. You may think once upon a time people needed to learn to socialize and interact with others, and it was a good thing. Those times are gone. We're in a time where there's a kid in your class with tuberculosis that can kill your kid just by your kid breathing the same air. Save a lot of money? Maybe. Fire all the teachers? Not actually. Reduce the teachers to online. See, here's the difference. One teacher can teach 1 million students online. In reality, in out here in this world, these teachers can only teach 30 kids. So that means you have to pay a teacher for each 30 kids. The new method, the futuristic method, you only have to pay one teacher for 1 million, 2 million, 50 million, 100 million kids, however many are in that grade. So you're paying one teacher, one master teacher for each grade level. And the good thing about it is, if if your kid didn't hear what the teacher said, they can rewind and listen again. And if the teacher's going too fast for them, they can slow it down and learn at their own speed. This is why online college is beating out other colleges. The only thing the other colleges have to have the only other advantage they have is lab and equipment. Okay, for you to be able to have tools to use. But if you provide yourself or your child with your own tools, then you don't have to worry about that. And with the money that you're saving from candy sales and all these things, okay, your kid can get exercise. Your kid can still play city sports. He doesn't have to play school sports. Okay, your kid can still get everything that he gets from a school by you self-educating it or educating online. What it can't get is all these harmful things. It can't get all these germs, and it can't spread them to you. It can't get things that you want to beat it from other kids. When something goes in your child brain, you can't dig it out with a spoon or a chisel. It's in there for life. The only hope you got is to protect your kid from exposure. There's a lot of things they thought hundreds of years ago were a good thing that we're finding out is not now. Like eating metal shavings to get iron in your blood. That was really popular back then. We don't do that now. We're smarter than that. We need to get smarter with education. It makes a standard education easier, more attainable. It has a higher quality control of information. Information can be screened better than us not knowing what books they're using where. So don't try to put the weight on the teachers. These are the materials they are given. They're not allowed to, 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 to even vote on the material or to screen the material before it's ordered. I want to see the person who orders this material. Back to the Board of Education. Some person from 50 years ago with a mind of 50 years ago, keeping us held back. They want your kid to learn slow so that they can be employed for 8 hours a day. They want to feed your kid one page a day, when it is a scientific fact that children before the age of 7 can learn anything. Anything. They can learn anything at all. They can take a car apart and put it back together. For real. They can learn the hardest math. So this is a rescue note. Rescuing the children from insane people who don't even seem to notice that they're in danger. Okay? Not all the bad ways you pick up kids are picking up are they getting from television shows like was stated and rated SP for stupid parents. They're getting some of this stuff directly from other children, and guess where? At school. So let's deal with the actual information that they're putting in your kid's head and the damage that it's doing. Okay, let's deal with subject matter. History. History is destabilizing your kid's subconscious mind by feeding it lies. Lies that it's going to find out is lies, but it's been taught this other information, and they're going to be battling in the back of their mind. Okay? History is full of lies. Columbus didn't discover America. Ferdinand Magellan wasn't the first one to get here. The American Revolution, the story in the books is all lies. Okay? It is sugar coated and watered down. The story of black people is a lie. The story of Native Americans is a lie. Okay? Black people are the Native Americans, and there was no slave trade. There was not. All these people didn't come over here on slave ships. They were already standing here. These people separated, and the fair skin, as always, got to stay Native Americans. The other ones' lands were took and they were enslaved. Children were separated from their parents, so how could they remember that they're not from Africa? They didn't remember anything. And you've been taught these people are ex-slaves, and your children are being taught the same crap. They were not slaves. Slavery never existed. This is a lie that is going to make your kid insane. You see, we live in different times now where you can't pull off these lies. We have CSI and many other things. Don't worry about the playing in the background. All tapes will be screened. You will be told to play this tape back and check your mind for thoughts that repeat every time you play it back that aren't related to what I'm saying, or the opposite of what I'm saying, or an attitude you just feel. Okay? That means that some hanky panky was put in the back of this note through one of those car sounds, through one of those plane sounds, or some other sounds. Back to the point. We live in new time, new technology. They found Noah's Ark. They found every ship. They lifted Titanic. There is nothing at the bottom of the ocean not found or discovered. There's not anything buried in the earth that we can't find from flying over it. We don't have to dig in the ground anymore. We can see through the ground and see something buried. That's why they're uncovering all these cities. Okay? We have new technology. Now, here's what I'm saying. The investigation says there is no record of these ships, slave ships, ever being built. There's no record of them ever leaving any port or docking at any port. There is no record of these slaves being unloaded off these ships. There is no record of any of this slave crap. And there's records of every other ship that went across that sold perfume and oil. Every other ship. One of our sets of laws, Admiralty Maritime Law, is set on seafaring and sea laws. They keep stringent record. They keep extreme record in the shipping business. Everything's records. Everything in the shipping business, it's more record keeping than selling. So if you put this many people on a ship and brought it over here, there would be record of it. And if you're saying you did it thousands of times, there would be record of at least one of those ships, or a wreckage of one of those ships, or a bill of sale, or an invoice for construction. There is nothing but a lie. And your kids being fed this lie about those people, and they aren't called black people. That's another lie that's making your kid insane. There's no such thing as a white or a black person. So your kid's education history is all messed up and insane, and sociology, social studies, is also insane. and correction for the insane idiots. This is not an attempt to undermine the school system. It is it is a move to correct it. It will be corrected. There is no way it can continue on now. These are facts. Unless you come with some facts contrary to these facts, this is a go. It's not your. We don't care about your opinion. We don't care about your feelings. We care about the life of our dang children. We've already suffered the damage. We're living proof that it causes insanity because we're a society where this man can stand here and tell us no one is in this society without mental illness or mental issues, that we all got problems. And he's also telling us where those problems came from. And he's right. This is the only place we all went. If everybody has the same diseases, but they went on different paths, you have to look for a common source. And I found all the common sources. The spread of money is the spread of sickness and disease. Public places are a hotbed of sickness and disease. That means public transportation, grocery stores, shopping malls, school buildings, office buildings, jail has every kind of sick person in it. And no system of combating the germs. No contingency plans for the germs and diseases that are floating through the air. None. Only thing they do is to treat them after you get sick. There's nothing to prevent you from getting infected from another inmate or another student or another person in line at the store or in any line. Any line is a threat to your health. Any place where you are surrounded by strangers is a potential death threat because you do not know what threats these strangers carry. Okay? You don't. It can be a mosquito riding on their shoulder with swine flu and just happens to get you. It can be an infected flea. It could be lice, bed bugs because they brushed up against you with their bed bug infected clothing. And bed bugs can leap far enough to reach you in any line. So public places will start to disappear in the future. In the future, there's no such thing as this type of public place. There are places where everybody's at and nobody's at risk. But because I designed some of these places, I intend to get paid for my designs. I don't intend to give the world everything for free. I'm here to help the world, but I'm here to help me first. I have to build me an underground bunker. I have to store me some water. I have to come up with my survival gear. I have to save my family. So I'm not going to do everything like Jesus Christ and run around doing everything for you guys for free. I'm going to charge for whatever I can. Because if you will pay for Netflix and Google and movies and candy and all in fairs and circuits that are screwing you up, you should pay to save your life or fix your mind. And if that's not important to you, then I'll let you and Google have that. Because I'm not going to give you everything for free. I've already given you more than everyone else in history for free. I've done more for you than anyone in your life for free. You need to contribute to the ones. You need to contribute to the one fund. The Self-Preservation Society, because you are a self. And we provide you with the tools to save yourself and to stay alive. That's what the preservation is about. Okay, it ain't the self-defense society. I mean, we're going to teach you that, but it's the self-preservation society, how to stay intact. And there's no psychological or any other kind of screening of teachers and personnel at a school. The janitor can be a rapist. How do I know? Right now, I know of a pedophile that works as a yard attendant at an elementary school. Right now. Right now, he walks around all day with camera glasses on, a cell phone filming in his front pocket, and a side camera. And he's gonna tell the old standard pedophile lie about he was trying to look out for him. But he's taking these little films of these kids home and beating his damn meat and fantasizing about these little children. And he works there. How did he get in there? How is he still there and no one even notice who he is? How is someone in there filming your child when your little girl dress goes up in the air? How is someone sitting there filming your child in an institution where you're at work thinking they're safe and took care of? They're not safe. The food is not even safe. Check your memory and then check your life. When in your life as an adult, grown person, out of all the hot dogs that you have purchased and all the hot dogs you have fixed, when have you ever seen a green line down the side of one of them? I don't care how they overboiled or whatever and split. So you tell me why you have a memory of the hot dogs at school having a green line down the side of them, and don't pretend that you did not see that green line on them hot dogs. You never asked the question because you were a kid, but now you're not a kid anymore. What is that green line? It's not on any of the hot dogs that you bought and fixed yourself in your entire life. The only place you saw those hot dogs was at school. It's not safe. Just because they have on a hairnet, they're not safe. I know very, very nasty booger butt scratching people that work at school. Let me try to explain to you who is feeding the homeless so that you can get a picture of what goes on. Here's who's feeding the homeless at these churches and stuff. You like, who would take the time to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and cook for some kids? Cook for some homeless people, and who would go all out their way? They must really be a good person. No, there are people with illnesses who are not supposed to be around food. They love to cook, but no one would let them around any kitchen or place to cook. They were probably cooking before they contracted this illness or whatever. But they are sick people who are not supposed to be around food, and don't nobody care. You know what I mean? And the homeless don't care. That's what they think. But they didn't ask them. They all of them go down there and look. Every one of them are with sick communicable diseases and serious problems where no one else will let them near food. They wanted to cook. And I've seen it. Some of the nastiest people are the best damn cooks. But they're still nasty, man. They're still nasty. I'm sorry. I'll admit, some of the nasty, nose running, not washing their hands people can really burn. They can really make it spread. But they're nasty. You have to make your own decision. How much nasty or germ you can take. Maybe they're not so nasty that you can't eat their food. Okay? Maybe you're nasty too and you don't care. There's those people who brag about that. Just tear the rotten, molded part off and eat the rest. Like the rest isn't contaminated. On the verge of molding. So back to the subject of school. The food's not safe. The diet's not safe. Okay? Meat is bad for your child. It clogs up their bowels, it clogs up yours. It's the reason you have constipation problems. It doesn't digest because your system wasn't made to eat it. It was made to eat plant life, which runs straight through you. Meat doesn't. Grains, they have a use, and they can be used, but every day, this is making your kids look like Pillsbury doughboys and girls. All the bread and rice and beans that they're feeding them. That's what does that to you. It just sits there. It doesn't make muscles. It doesn't do anything. Almost has no nutrition, no value. They're lying to you. So the food, the books, the environment, the social contact with other human beings is all bad. I'm not saying they invented a wicked thing. I'm saying the one room schoolhouse, there was not this many germs in the world. There was not that many of any of this. And they had a higher tolerance for germs because they had a higher exposure to germs. You know, women used to actually walk around with a rag stuck up them. Can you imagine what kind of germs and illnesses that came from that? A bloody rag stuck up in you? Days? They didn't die from it though because they had greater antibodies where we've been weakened. We don't have that protection, protective shell. We have to reduce germ exposure. It's why our lifespan is shorter, okay? Because of weakness. We're not so durable as we used to be. We can be. There's no law or science that says that we can't live to be 400 years old. Ask the scientists, ask the doctors. Ask them what causes deterioration. And they're going to tell you if you never went outside and you stayed in a bubble, you might grow taller, but your skin will not get old and wrinkly. Your muscles will not fail you, and your eyes will never go out, and you'll never get senile, and your hair will never stop growing. So it's out here, this aging you. I'm not saying it, matter of fact, it's your home that's aging you too. It's exposure to things in your home and out your home. It's not inside of a shelter of a house. You better to cover yourself, your direct body. Because in a house, there's too much room for other things to be in there with you, which equals exposure to other things. You want absolutely nothing to get to you but air and the nutrients you put in your holes. You don't want the germs that cause earwax and boogers. You don't want mucus. Mucus is the cause of all sicknesses. They can Cancer is nothing but mucus in the cells. Every sickness is mucus related. Trademark. I see people from the Board of Education driving new vehicles. I see the kids riding beat up, old, ancient, broke down school buses. School buses so old that there's sharp edges they could get cut on. But we're straying again. Let's get back to these subjects. Physical education. This is a joke. They are injuring your child. This is one of my main fields. Believe me when I tell you, the opposite is happening. Your child is not getting in shape. They're injuring your child internally and externally. Stretching. Stretching is bad for you. It causes major damage at the joints and the ligaments. Stretching is unnecessary. The brain can command should be able to command the muscle to relax, and it just collapses. Something like fainting on purpose should be possible. You should be able to just collapse because without concentration, without intention or focus,